please join me in welcoming Christian from BT Group to share their story about how they're using the technology. Welcome.
Thanks, Armon.
Hey, Chris.
Excited to be here.
Welcome. Please take a seat. So thanks so much for joining us. I think maybe before we jump in, I think most people in the UK are probably familiar with BT, but I think we have a lot of folks joining on live stream who might be less so. So maybe just start off and give us an introduction to BT Group and then your role more specifically there.
Yeah, so BT Group, so excited to be here, first of all. So BT Group stands for British Telecom. It's now almost 180 years old company, has been gone through a lot of changes, was a monopoly at some point in time, now lots of competition here, and I know that some of our colleagues and competitors are here as well, so really, really good to see this as well, and excited to be here. Since it's an old company, we also have a couple of claims to fame. We can say that we've got invented AI, because there has been a little bit of AI in the past, you know. We invented the smartphone. There was a 1980 prototype called Proton, that was using video telecom and stuff like this as well. So we have done a lot of innovation in there. So I look after security in an area that's called network services. For me, it's really about security engineering, making the easy way, the secure way, the easy way for our colleagues. And so this is really great to see also Terraform stacks, for example. We'll talk a little bit more about this later on, but it's really something that will help us with the shared responsibility model. This is really my mission.
Awesome. So, you know, I think as a telecom, you guys are facing a bunch of different evolutions at the same time. I think on one hand, you have the adoption of hybrid cloud, which is changing what your infrastructure landscape looks like. On the other hand, I think it's fair to say the threat landscape is evolving pretty rapidly in terms of what you guys have to think about. Yeah. And at the same time, your regulatory environment's changing with the Telecom Security Act. So how do you think about the three of those kind of coming together and impacting your guys' strategy?
Yeah, let me start with the threat landscape. This is rapidly evolving. And many of the colleagues here in the UK have heard about Marks and Spencer, what happened there, retail attacks, stuff like this. I mean, this is attributed to a group that is called Scattered Spider. And we see a lot of transition now from previously amateur attacks, script kiddie, stuff like this, to much more sophisticated ones. So they are nation-state actors, they are affiliated crime gangs, they are loosely coupled entities like Scattered Spiders and others as well, that go segment by segment. And so what we see is that the traditional mode model, where you just got the mode and then an outside and inside, is no longer working. So in this context, we had already for years looked into what is our public cloud strategy. But also we have customers, and we have a lot of heritage in data centers and private cloud management. So where I sit also, we manage a range of different private clouds in different setups, and some of them are VM first, others are more Kubernetes, some of them are Nomad. So we have different environments. So we need to bring this all together. And the Telecom Security Act, and I know that there are some telecoms colleagues here who suffer through the same thing we do, forces us to rethink more what are the categories, what are the separations that we have. So we have the core services, really the core network, mobile, fixed, and others. We've got those oversight functions, monitoring, management, configuration of these. These need to be clearly separated out. And I think this has been a transition that has been happening for a while now on our side, but to some degree there is a happy coincidence that this comes together with the Telecom Security Act and other regulation. And so we are fully buying into this, and we see that the cybersecurity bar get raised to this. And so for us, this also means that with the separation and compartmentalization, we need to still make it easy to provision. And so how do you do this in a private and public cloud model? Well, ideally, you want to abstract all of it. So you want to say that, hey, well, just develop your service, build your hello world, as I call it. Focus on this, and then don't worry whether it runs on a Kubernetes cluster, whether it's private cloud or public cloud. We find out of the app and out of the configuration of the app the best environment for you to, well, both security-wise as well as efficiency-wise, as well as, well, FinOps as well to some degree. So we really want to get to this stage. And so the stack that we're having with HashiCorp, amongst others, is really helping us abstract this away.
So that sounds like you're almost sort of delineated almost that same kind of hybrid cloud view, right? You sort of talked about how there's an infrastructure pipeline, there's sort of a security set of concerns, There's the sort of monitoring FinOps pieces.
Correct.
And then you kind of outline basically, effectively a hybrid cloud infrastructure between private cloud, public cloud, et cetera.
Correct, yes.
So, obviously you've given us a little bit of the details of the background operating model, some of the transitions you guys are going through. What brought you guys to HashiCorp tooling, right? Obviously you're using it today, but what brought you to the HashiCorp kind of tooling to begin with?
So for the tooling itself, there were a couple of changes. The first one, if you go back to the threat model that I said earlier in the mode. So when I joined BT 4.5 years ago, roughly, everybody talked about red side and green side. And I was coming in, I was really confused. I said, what is that? And I probably should know this because, I've got a senior person and stuff like this. So I didn't dare ask really. And it took me a while to understand that this is really a view of the outside versus the inside, about the untrusted Wild West, the internet, and outside connectivity customers including, versus inside the castle, it's all nice and stuff like this. So this approach doesn't really work anymore. So we had to change our operating model in order to transition really to embrace zero trust, secure by design, and secure by default, which is really core to my mission as well. And in this, I think the HashiCorp tooling is a key piece of it. And so we started off with Terraform because it is just this tool that allows us to create those templates, abstract the infrastructure away, make this reusable, stuff like this, and create this shared responsibility model within BT as well, between who's taking care of the platform, platform engineering, stuff like this, and who's building the apps on tops and stuff like this, this layering. And so it's a little bit the gateway product, let's put it like this. And the next logical step there, really helping us, is Vault. I'm a big believer, as I said from the beginning, we want to make the secure way the easy way. And so you want to raise the security bar, but also remove friction and put it to a minimum. And tools like Vault, I spoke about Boundary and Enter ID at the leadership track last year, for example, create a frictionless experience for teams who want to either service, configure something or build an app, deploy an app and stuff like this. We've got ephemeral secrets now as well, rotation, stuff like this. And so really raising the bar, getting rid of credentials in the first place really makes it hard to steal credentials for attackers, So you really want to get to credential-less if you can, and frictionless then as well.
So I know today you guys have pretty broadly adopted Terraform and Vault across the sort of BT ecosystem. What's been the impact of that transition and the adoption of those tools?
Simplification. It's really about simplification. Templates again. It's to some degree it's reducing cognitive load. So what do you need to focus on? Do you need to think about security all the time? So yes, we need to think about security very early in the life cycle, and we need to think it also later on in the operational life cycle. But you want to do threat modeling in the beginning, and get from there. Manage your risks, mitigations, templates, and stuff like that. So it becomes all to design patterns and reusability there. Best practices, secure by design, secure by default, simplification, reduction of cognitive load.
Makes sense. I think you mentioned sort of in passing that there's other groups within BT that are using things like Consul and Nomad, and you've spoken about Boundary last year. Within that context of sort of the hybrid cloud model, and I think you talked about sort of that goal of, hey, we want to abstract developers and really have them focus on kind of the golden paths. What's been the role in terms of those other tools in the broader Hashi stack in terms of enabling that kind of portability or abstraction? Yeah,
my colleague experts are here actually, so I need to be a bit careful what I talk about here. But absolutely, it's in the spirit of simplification. So if you use the whole chain of Hashi tooling, if you want, you can actually abstract away all of the underlying platforms. So if we can get to stacks, then even you can have the model where you put out the virtualization layer from hardware layer, virtualization layer, OS layer, application layer, really separation out. So it's about simplification. It's about abstracting away what you have underneath. It's about focusing on building your hello world and deploying it in the most efficient way here with best practices built in. And so using Service Mesh, Consul, Nomad, and stuff like this enables this, abstracts it away, also gives us an API first and not necessarily an opinionated view of where you should deploy. You don't build for AWS, you don't build for GCP necessarily, you build for an environment where you can fine-grain controls on a containerized basis. And this stack has enabled this.
Got it. It's really, yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to sort of our view of like, how do we provide an automation layer that's ultimately portable across these environments so that the developer just focuses on what they care about and not the specifics of which environment they're going to.
Correct.
So I think one of the things we've talked about is, we've talked about a bunch of different things. We've talked about paved roads. We've talked about an opinionated platform view that's sort of secure by default. We've talked about supply chain security sort of separately. And we've talked about quantum ready infrastructure today. So how do some of those different themes play into kind of how you think about what's next for what we do together?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to see. I mean, we spoke a year ago about when you announced that you would come together with IBM or being acquired by IBM, that, I mean, BT has loads and loads of suppliers, and amongst them Red Hat and IBM as well. So we're using probably also mainframes in some corners still. So it's really exciting to see come this together. So from a security point of view, for me, it's really, the focus is currently on looking into post-quantum. And so it's great having IBM as an ally, indirectly or directly now. So we're looking into what can we do. And I mean, we need to keep in mind that certainly for big and complex companies such as ourselves, it takes about 10 years to switch crypto. And so if you look at the timelines where quantum computing becomes realistic and that suddenly all hell breaks loose because asymmetric crypto is no longer safe, we are already late for this. So we need to really accelerate. And again, it's about making sure that this transition can be as easy as possible. So we are looking into, I mean, software bill of materials, but also crypto bill of materials. Doing this really generically across all of our suppliers in all of the CI/CD pipelines that we're using. And again, on BT, the estate is quite complex because we have some areas where we have full source code control, but they're actually far and few. Most of it comes from third parties, either containerized, Dockerized, Kubernetes, stuff like this. So supply chain management and the transition to quantum computing, post-quantum computer rather, is key for us. And the tooling there, in order to make it simple, is authentication, verification of, I mean, we're using standards like Google Salsa as well, in order to make sure that we validate what comes in. Is it third party? Is it open source libraries? Where does this come in? Has it been checked on our side? Has it been signed? Validated, goes through the pipeline there. Some products we sell. And also coming back to the Telecom Security Act, I mean, in there we've got this compartmentalizational, segmented model. So it's important that we know when we go from an untrusted layer to a more trusted layer, so into the core components of it, we actually have ways of validating that these artifacts have been signed, there's attestation, stuff like this. Doing this at the same time, we transition to post-quantum and look into the bill of materials and the crypto bill of materials is really an exciting change. And for this, we leverage build pipelines increasingly. And the good news is that we go from appliances to more software-defined stuff. And we have tools such as some of the HashiCorp stack that we're using in order to simplify our life.
That's awesome. Well, Christian, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share your story with us. I really appreciate it, and looking forward to continuing to work together.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.